You can only grow if you're willing to feel awkward and uncomfortable when you try something new. Brian Tracy. Do you consider yourself a creature of habit? In many ways, I consider myself to be exactly that. My daily routine is punctuated by things I do at a certain time. I've always been a little bit regimented in that way because I know that if I don't take an organized approach to life, things will go sideways. I need structure in my life. It serves me. It delineates the progress of my days and supports my need to get things done in a timely manner. On the one hand, I'm highly disciplined. On the other, I'm a bohemian train wreck. But the structure in my life, regularly observed habits, and rituals provide me with the flexibility I need to pursue activities I don't schedule every day. These may be grocery shopping, which I do whenever it's required, as I live near an excellent market, chores, appointments, or social opportunities. I prioritize what needs to be done and do it because I build structure into my life which demands that I perform certain non-negotiable activities in specific time frames. As with goals, so with the conduct of daily life, the structure prevents me from going off the rails and then feeling overwhelmed by the 50-car pile-up procrastination has caused. But what I do outside that framework is much less regimented. I allow myself needed spontaneity outside the realm of household, health, and work needs. This allows me to do exactly what this chapter is here to discuss: trying new things. Just as we nervous humans fear change, we're not so fond of trying new things either. Those who are willing to do so are either admired or viewed with suspicion. My bohemian train wreck side comes out when I try new things. Often, I know that I will not excel, also known as sucking badly, at the new thing I'm trying, but I don't care. It's a new thing. If I feel that it might be fun to try, then that's enough reason for me to have a crack at it. There's always the possibility of surprising myself because every now and then, the new thing and I get along and I gain a new interest, skill, insight, or passion. There are many things in life we wonder about doing but never step up to try. I'm going to share with you one of my most special experiences of trying something new. Then, we're going to move on to some other thoughts on the power of novelty in your life and how you need to allow yourself to explore to get at the real riches offered by the unknown and untried. There's no fear of failure. You can't fail because you're new to the very thing you have resolved to try. So suck it up, my buttercups. Let's start with my first experience at stand-up comedy. It may well be my last, or it may be the start of something exciting. Whatever it is, I created a new avenue in my life. I need not stroll down it every day, but it's added more texture to my life, and that's always welcome. More texture means more of everything. More joy, more fun, more friends, more insight, and more satisfaction. Standing up and trying something new. All my life, I've admired stand-up comedians. They have been making me laugh since before I understood what the heck they were talking about. Phyllis Diller was the first comedian I remember well. It was her kooky appearance and stage presence I came to love. I didn't understand what she was talking about, but I knew it was funny to have a husband named Fang and to wear a crazy outfit. I've always appreciated a clever turn of phrase or an illustration of life's absurdity. The stand-up comedian, when gifted, is a wild amalgam of charisma, public relations, transparency, prophecy, performance, writing, agility, and so many other attributes and skills. It's mind-boggling to consider. What goes into a high-quality stand-up comedy routine is downright daunting, and the greats of the genre deserve to be where they are. They're workhorses. So recently, I decided I had a bit of an itch to try stand-up comedy. Writing is one thing, but adding your physical presence in a stage-aware manner before a live audience, not your pets, is a lot. Lots of preparation, lots of editing, practice, memorization, stagecraft. I wanted to know what it was like. What did it take to create a brief stand-up routine for an open mic? I had no idea, but the journey had its benefits. My first move was to acquaint myself with the current standards of the genre. As I watched, I noted stylistic themes and motifs and the fact that movement was important to some comics but not to all by any means. More important was the presence. There was a great deal of diversity of subject matter and presentation styles I noticed as I lurked in the precincts of the stand-up world. I became almost hypnotized by the talent of some of the people I watched and then by the idea of writing some of my own material. I was both trying something new and answering an unexpressed call. For me, the project of bringing a joke told by a friend about her hair into the realm of stand-up comedy was one of the most exciting things I've done in a long time. I don't know if I'm any good at it, so I'll try again. Why not? It's not new anymore, so now I can add holding myself accountable for my performance. That's a twofer. And anyhow, it was fun to do something new. Another advantage of trying new things is that new things shed light on old things and bring change that ripples through your life in incredible ways. New things can change everything in your life if you pay attention to what the input means beneath the surface. The freedom of not giving a hoot. Trying something new is more powerful than realizing a long-forgotten dream. It's more than wish-fulfilling or thrill-seeking. Trying something new challenges you to assert your identity and to be comfortable with it on the cosmic scale of not giving a hoot. Not giving a hoot in the catbird seat. When you're genuinely in possession of yourself, knowing who you are, you're not afraid of anyone or anything. Derision? Big deal. Mockery? You've heard worse. You're a feather floating in the universe, and who knows who the bird you fell from may poop on. When you don't give a hoot if you win, lose, or draw, you're the most powerful, authentic you that has ever been. This is who you were born to be, not giving a flying fart what anyone thinks. This is your idea of fun. That is total personal freedom. And is there anything more sought after? True freedom is an internal state which transcends all externals. It is the acceptance of the way things are, for better or worse. Equanimity that makes it possible to not have a single hoot to give. Win, lose, or draw, throwing yourself into the void with a big, crazy smile on your face and not dying in the process is a victory like no other. A lot of people would rather die than try something new. They tremble at the implications. They may not like it at all. They may fail in public. They may suck. In reality, most new things are not only innocuous, but beneficial, especially if you start with something less terrifying than, say, exposing your inner life to a roomful of strangers as you attempt to make them laugh. Instead, you might want to try an ethnic food you've never eaten, or walk to a coffee shop you've never frequented and enjoy a coffee. Something new doesn't mean something big. It can be as simple as either of the activities I've mentioned above. For some of you, almost everything written in this book is something new, so congratulations! You're already well ahead of the novelty curve. How trying new things ripples through your life. In my case, trying stand-up has changed the way I think about writing, which has opened me to new forms and venues. It's also compelled me to sing in public again, which I haven't done in years. This, in turn, has compelled me to think more about music, lyrics, and how performances speak to people. All this input illuminates my life, shedding light in corners I hadn't thought much about in some time. Adding this new dimension to my life provokes new experiences involving new people. I've met so many interesting people just because of that one stand-up routine and my subsequent crooning endeavors. It's fun. It's social and professionally enriching. I've mined a whole new vein of happiness in my life, adding fresh input that has enlivened me in exciting ways. Trying a new thing by doing stand-up has created welcome changes almost instantly. For me, the journey is just beginning, and that's something to crow about at my stage in life. What new thing do you, in your heart of hearts, most desire to try? What have you convinced yourself you simply can't do? Let me explain why you should take a crazy-eyed leap into the void and try it. Now is your time. No matter what's going on, now is your time. This is an unwritten future. It's happening, and you are the protagonist. So, what's your story so far? Can you look at your life and honestly say you're deriving the maximum experience of it that you can? And if not, why not? What's holding you back? What was holding me back from trying stand-up? For one, I'd forgotten that I'd ever wanted to try, as life and survival got in the way. And when the idea somehow resurfaced, possibly triggered by binge-watching old episodes of the unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, I decided that it was time to try. Why shouldn't I? What was stopping me? That's when the decision was made. Nothing was in my way. I had nothing to hide, nothing to lose, and no one to impress. I decided that the stand-up thing needed to happen, and that was that. So what's holding you back? Maybe you're afraid of sucking or bombing. The prospect of bombing at stand-up did indeed cross my mind. But then I decided that I just didn't give a monkey's bum, and off I went. And you know what? I didn't bomb. And that's just gravy on the experience. Not sucking is swell, but sucking and bombing can be just as much fun. Because when equanimity is the boss of your emotional responses, you don't give a hoot. Regardless of whatever's convinced you not to try something you've been dying to have a stab at, trying it is consistently a moment of revelation. Because of the newness of the experience, our brain is shown a perspective it's unaccustomed to. By choosing something new, you challenge your brain to learn. To learn is to change. Input demands update. Your brain on novelty. The value of trying something new adheres to the processes in your brain set in motion every time you throw it the curveball of novelty. Neurons fire, new pathways are formed. This effect is known as plasticity, meaning something like flexibility in responding to new input. The neurons in play receive information from external dendrites, which are exchanged with internal dendrites, with the process continued in a fraction of a second throughout the brain. This process is unconscious. The brain has no idea what you're slipping by it, yet. These changes occur in every instance of trying something new. It doesn't matter if it's stand-up comedy, welding, or horseback riding. If it's new, your brain's activity is renewed by it. The more you try new things, the more plastic and flexible your brain will become. So, trying new things is one of the most beneficial activities for humans to exercise their brains with. And here's another vote of confidence for learning something new. The adrenaline rush received when breaking the mundane and novel barrier is accompanied by dopamine, the feel-good chemical. The human body likes dopamine, so trying new things may become a way of life for you. If so, your entire organism will thank you. As if all this weren't enough, the chemical myelin urges neurons to get a move on while you're doing new things. This effect is more pronounced in older people. Trying something new increases myelin production in the brain, which supports the forging of new neural connections. Even more dramatic is the effect on myelin production in the brain when we practice doing something new. The act of repetition supports continuing plasticity in the brain at a higher rate. This is amazing news for older people. There is an answer to the aging brain in many new approaches, but trying new things has a concrete chemical benefit to the brain, which is had by simply trying. The joy of trying. Self-doubt always kills potential, and it's a virulent enemy when it comes to trying new things. It messes with your ability to grow in new directions. It messes with your ability to encourage your brain's plasticity, and thus removes an anti-aging tool from your toolbox. If what's holding you back is doubting that you can do what you'd like to try, deep down, or fearing that you'll suck or bomb, then it's time to address self-doubt decisively. It's holding you hostage to the unchanging, unchallenging mundane. As I said at the beginning of this chapter, I need my daily structure. What I also need is new input. Flexibility in your life is the first front in your war on the mundane. But why wage war on your comfort zone and static certainty? Simply, comfort and certainty are the enemies of reality. Reality changes, and so must you. Trying something new as often as possible encourages growth. It pushes you to places you've avoided for whatever reason. There is nothing to fear when you don't give a hoot. Slaying your self-doubt is a project, but once you've achieved it, you're living in the kind of freedom most people only dream of. Trying is the victory. Trying is the reason. You don't need to set the world on fire, only your world. The joy of trying is the sweetest fruit, only available to those willing to climb out on a limb. Even if the limb is high and the prospect of falling is scary, the reward is far too attractive to pass up. And trying something new is watering yourself, offering new growth that might never have seen the light of day had you not gone out on that limb. Happiness. The only thing that will make you happy is being happy with who you are. Goldie Hawn. People seek happiness in all kinds of places. For some, happiness is a bank of slot machines, while for others, a bowl of ice cream will do. But these are transitory pleasures. They're over before we've allowed the happiness to penetrate, and when the moment's over, the happiness generated by it ends simultaneously. Happiness is a commodity. At least, it appears to have been commodified. Commercial messaging delineates happiness for us through mass, omnipresent media, and we ingest this messaging. Before we know it, our happiness is dependent upon vacations in exotic locations, monetary gain, power, drugs, alcohol, and other addictions. Material goods like adult toys, ATVs, motorcycles, and jet skis, for example, taunt us, tantalizingly dangling just beyond our reach. We become unhappy because we feel we're getting the short end of this stick in our audaciously commercial world. Where is our jet ski? Where is our 2-week adventure in Bali? Alas, none of these shiny things will bring us anything more enduring than the fleeting pleasure of acquisition, extended somewhat by suntans and waving to the neighbors as we head off to the local trails on our ATVs. Much of our happiness appears to be based on the need to acquire and accumulate. Whether we're needy for validation via compliments or praise, a raise, a bonus, or a new car, we're needy. Without acknowledging the inestimable riches our lives are already based on, our hands are ever reaching out, as even in our tremendous abundance, we feel deprived. But what if we created lives in which we asserted our value as human beings over the value of things and activities that bring us only a superficial and fleeting facsimile of happiness? That's really what this book is about. What I've hoped to impart throughout is the value of you in all your colors. You are not only a miraculous being, so complex we still don't understand the human animal in its fullness, but you're a creator. You create who you are. You create your worldview. You have the power to create your relationship with the world around you and your responses to what happens within it. You create your happiness. While this may sound like some new age woo, everything I've talked to you about in this book is rooted in scientific fact and experimental data, which is what scientific research is all about if you think about it. What you seek in this world is within you and always has been. Part of finding happiness is acknowledging that truth. Every single tool and concept you've read about in this book is a stepping stone towards happiness, because what you do, you become. When you perform certain daily activities and intentionally seek to be in touch with your emotional life, you are investing in yourself, and investing in yourself is where happiness begins. As Goldie Hawn says in the quote at the beginning of this chapter, being happy with yourself, loving yourself, is the root of happiness. This book is about teasing the best of you out, and because you're reading, you're already working on being happy with the person you are. You're well on your way to finding the elusive bluebird of happiness. Let's discuss in this final chapter the science of happiness and why knowing happiness in your life is one of the greatest individual human achievements. The science of happiness. Because of an almost universal attitude of fear and trepidation about mental illness, the practice of psychology was primarily dedicated, until very recently, to negative manifestations of disturbances to the integrity of our mental health. But when positive psychology came along, that changed. Positive psychology was founded in 1998 by Dr. Martin Seligman, but it has a history going back decades, most identifiably to the work of pioneering psychologist Abraham Maslow. Seligman decided to introduce the discipline as the theme of the American Psychological Association during his term as president. Maslow developed what's known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which states that certain conditions need to be met in a person's life before they can move on to matters like creating their own realities via self-actualization. See the resources section for a link to a description. It was Maslow who first suggested the concept of positive psychology in 1968. His ideas center on the humanistic pursuit of mental well-being. Carried forward by Seligman, positive psychological has enjoyed a tremendous amount of interest since 1999. The science of happiness, which is what positive psychology describes itself as, is aimed at establishing humanity's highest expression as a norm capable of transforming society. Imagine, for example, that everyone was truly happy. Wouldn't the world be a much less difficult place to live in? Happiness may be different things to different people, but there are specific states to be pursued by any given individual to arrive at a state of personal happiness. Let's review them. Mindful enjoyment and appreciation. We've talked a little about mindfulness in this book, and now we're going to talk about it again because being in the moment, truly enjoying and appreciating it, allows you to derive all you can from it. Everyone knows the saying, "Stop and smell the roses," but so few of us seem to take that advice. We're always in a hurry. We always have something to do. We don't slow down long enough to even see the roses, much less take in their heady scent. Moments of profound pleasure should be a reason to slow your roll. We think nothing of slowing down to examine a car crash. That's the negative bias, again, prompting us ever forward and filling our heads with mangled visions of destruction. Isn't smelling roses a much more pleasant way to spend your time? I mean, if you're going to slow down, it may as well be to take in something lovely. Being in the moment and savoring its intense flavor is how you make the moment endure beyond the limits of time, allowing it to add to your happiness. Mindfulness meditation as a path to happiness. Mindfulness meditation isn't as complicated as you may believe it to be. Following a routine of this technique for increasing your ability to live in the moment can be achieved in brief sessions to start, no more than 20 minutes, working up to longer, perhaps hour-long meditations. You'll find more information in the resources section, but for now, this brief description and guide will get you started. Sit up or lie down. It doesn't matter what position your body's in, so long as you're comfortable. You don't want to be fidgeting. Start by controlling your breathing, slowing it down, and entering the experience of breathing consciously. Focus on the physical manifestation of breathing. Feel your breath entering, then exiting, sliding up and down your throat. Now, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. As you do this, there's no doubt you'll find that you're aware of thoughts moving through your mind. Divest them of any power. Notice, but don't observe or analyze. Allow random thoughts to slide through unexamined. Choose to be in the center of what you're doing, which is meditating. You may want to add statements like these that support finding your way to a happier existence or something that has special meaning for you. I'm grateful for this moment. I'm filled with hope. I am happy to be living this moment in its fullness. Mindfulness meditation is a powerful way to bring home the potency of living in the moment as a key component of happiness. Being fully present doesn't mean you neglect your life's necessities. It means deriving all you can from each moment you're alive, even if you're just hanging out the laundry. Remember always that life is a gift. It's a miracle we don't fully understand, and yet, here we are. That is cause for abundant gratitude. Gratitude. There's no question that our era is one characterized by extreme entitlement, especially in Western nations. Not only are we almost completely unaware of the abundance we already live in, but to the extent that we are aware, we don't think that this abundance is enough. We want more. We want to be first. We want to have it all. Gratitude is the antidote for entitlement. By recognizing the gifts that others bring us and the abundance of beauty in our lives, we find the happiness of knowing it's okay not to be swimming in money and things. We stop feeling that we're missing out on something by appreciating what we do miss in the pursuit of something better. Gratitude tempers the human animal's voracious greed, replacing it with a humility that understands the delicacy of life and how fleeting it is. Feeling gratitude is wonderful, but expressing it is even richer. When we say thank you for what we have, or for the company we're enjoying, or the meal we've just eaten, we're publicly stating our gratitude and sharing it with others. The gratitude you express to others creates a chain reaction. It both increases the gratitude you already feel and spreads that feeling to the people around you. Entitlement has the opposite effect: alienation, division, and corrosion. Fostering hope. Hope is what gets us out of bed in the morning. We hope that the day before us will be pleasant, successful, even joyful. And hope is one of the secret ingredients of happiness. While it's an open secret, sometimes a pall of hopelessness descends on even the most optimistic person. Life can be like that sometimes. But even in the darkest night, the hope of dawn is not in vain. We know it will come. We wait for it in the darkness, knowing it never lets us down. Hope is the motor of life, driving us forward even when the terrain seems impassable. Looking toward the dawn increases your optimism, and the more optimistic you are, the more of a magnet you are for other people. When you believe that life will turn out just fine, it usually does. When you believe that the light is breaking, it usually is. Hope makes you a beacon in a world that's too often gloomy, preoccupied, and self-centered in unhealthy ways. When you add meaning and purpose to your optimism, hope increases. Knowing that you're for a reason and that you satisfy your goals undergird what you believe your purpose in life to be, whether that's to share hope with others or to run a marathon. All hope is good hope. regardless of its source. Kindness. We all aspire to be kind to others, kind to animals, and kind to the planet. Kindness is not aspirational, though. Kindness is something you do every day. Going well beyond politeness or being nice, kindness is heartfelt action that spreads genuine goodwill between people. Instead of cutting someone off in traffic, you could yield and let that car into your lane. You could give someone your seat on the bus. You could feed a stray cat or take an abandoned puppy into your home. Kindness makes the world a better place because it reduces suffering. That virtue needn't be elaborated on. But did you know that kindness improves your overall well-being? By increasing your empathy and compassion, you also improve your self-esteem and sense of connection to others. In addition, it decreases cortisol levels, that potentially destructive stress hormone we talked about earlier, and lowers your blood pressure. When you give of yourself by volunteering, you're elevating kindness toward a common goal, working with others often unseen. By becoming part of a helping community in which altruism guides your actions, you're making even more of kindness. You're making it real, and you're building a community that believes in loving support. There is tremendous power in kindness, which is multiplied in this way. No matter where you're helping, you form part of a web of caring action when you volunteer. You're putting your shoulder to the wheel with other people. This is what we should all be doing to increase the influence and reach of kindness in a world that suffers daily. Visit dogs and cats at the SPCA, clean up your local park or beach, feed the hungry. All these actions support humanity's connectivity. People who make a point of being kind as part of their lifestyle, not giving a second thought to offering their kind support, live longer and age more gracefully, according to a study conducted at the University of Wisconsin. Those who volunteered for self-focused reasons, however, didn't fare as well on the longevity front, according to the study. Their mortality rates were almost the same as those who didn't volunteer at all. So volunteering is only beneficial to the health and happiness of the volunteer if their motives are pure. Science has finally confirmed something we all knew. Best of all, kindness, when multiplied, reduces suffering, and any reduction in suffering in this world is to be welcomed. That should make us all very happy indeed. Empathy. Empathy is a unique human quality that allows us to walk with others through their personal experiences of the world in solidarity. It is, in fact, a human superpower that's woefully underrepresented. We may all be made from the very same template, but there are tremendous variations between us in terms of life experience, beliefs, and ethical frameworks. But empathy is unitive, transcending all our differences. Life will always present us with people who don't agree with our worldviews. Sometimes we argue with these people, but even when we do, being able to continue seeing people we don't agree with as fellow humans worthy of love and entitled to their opinions and beliefs is what sets us apart as empathetically empowered. What sets people with strong empathic tendencies apart from others is their ability to maintain what's called object constancy in psychology. This characteristic means that even when we disagree with someone, we're able to continue respecting them, even loving them. Empathically empowered people understand that all humans are a complex blend of what's good and what's not so good about the human animal. We don't divide people into the good and the bad because it's not possible, with very limited exceptions. The ability to empathize gives us the luxury of seeing beyond people's opinions to the qualities we appreciate about them without consigning them to the dust heap for not agreeing with us. These oppositional, divided times could certainly benefit from more empathy and considerably more object constancy. Having patience for the people around us and acknowledging the shared humanity we base all our relationships on is the key to empathy-driven interactions. Most of us are born with empathy. Again, there are exceptions, embodied by some of the more corrosive personality disorders described in the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual V. But empathy is a human quality that needs to be nurtured and attended to so that it can be at its most beneficial for us and the people around us. If more of us would spend some quality time with our empathic ability, I think it's abundantly clear that the world would be a better place. Empathic empowerment is an important component of happiness, and many of you will feel you might improve your abilities in this respect. Please consider working with the following daily practices to exercise your empathic ability. Active listening is a useful tool in the project of increasing the human superpower of empathy. Truly listening to someone you're talking to instead of formulating a response as they're speaking changes the quality of interactions. When you're taking in what someone else is saying, you should be able to tweak what they've said slightly and repeat it back to them. This is, in fact, a powerful tool in conversation which creates trust between people. As you listen, watch the physical reality of the speaker. Are their shoulders tight? Are they smiling? This can reveal the truth about what's being said and the emotional setting it's coming from. Mindfulness meditation can help with active listening also. Its ability to calm and quiet the mind, allowing it to focus on an intention, supports the focus required to truly hear what people are saying. And when we're able to listen at that level, we connect in a way we can't when we're contemplating what we'll say next. Make space for diversity of opinion by exposing yourself to people you wouldn't normally talk to at length. Chat with your difficult cousin. Find common ground in what she's saying without making the conversation about yourself. Hear her experience, and you may hear things you otherwise wouldn't. Discovering that the people we find hard to love aren't lovable at all is a growth experience. It grows our empathy, and it tempers our tendency to judge unjustly. Empathy allows us to discover the roots of people's mindsets and worldviews. Without empathy at the center of our relationships, we never really get that deep, meaning that our relationships are stuck on superficial. Pro tip: an empathically empowered person may be the target of exploitation by those envious of that empowerment. There's also the ability of attracting people to your immediate circle who hope you are not very bright, the better to take advantage of your empathic empowerment. It's important to remember that living your empathic gifts to the fullest doesn't mean you invite misfortune and abuse into your life. The good news is that people who take the time to develop their empathic gift can see the shadows in people more clearly, especially when those shadows are ominous. Being empathically empowered means a happier life because empathy lets you see red flags that might indicate dysfunction. When you know something's going on with someone, it pays to observe their behavior. You're either correct or you're not. But taking your time when you're around new people is a protective measure you should never take for granted. Don't neglect empathy's people reading aspect, as avoiding toxic people is another life skill that brings you greater happiness. Loving yourself holistically. Goldie Hawn said it best at the beginning of this chapter. To paraphrase the quote, "The way to happiness is self-love." We talked about self-love in Chapter 1, and we're going to talk about it again because it's a primary factor in your happiness level. Let's not fall into the trap of misinterpreting what self-love means. It's not gazing at yourself in the mirror endlessly, reflecting on the unparalleled perfection that is you. Self-love is self-acceptance. And self-acceptance is not throwing up your hands, abandoning the hope of improving yourself in any number of productive ways. Self-acceptance is understanding who you are in all your human complexity and not being afraid to challenge your assumptions about who that is. Self-love is not sparing yourself the struggle that change represents. We're all flawed. Many of our perceived flaws are just part of who we are, and many of the flaws we castigate ourselves for are physical. Our physical beings tend to be the site of most of our dissatisfaction. Self-acceptance addresses our dissatisfaction, challenging us to sort out what we can and cannot change. You may not like your nose. People with enough money and a pressing enough obsession may change their noses surgically. Those not in such a position may obsess in vain, stuck with the noses they don't believe belong on their faces. Alternatively, they could accept that nose and keep moving. They understand that their nose is a reminder of where they come from, ancestrally and genetically, and that it's unique, identifying them with a vast throng of ancestors throughout time. When you put it that way, our noses, large or small, snubbed, impressive, Roman, and wide, are the products of our family histories. They are to be prized. In fact, the fullness of our physical presence is the product of those same histories, being formed through time by thousands upon thousands of people to whom we're connected by ancestry. So when we don't love or fail to accept ourselves as we are, we're rejecting our ancestors into the bargain. But there are forms of self-acceptance, it must be remembered, which are not really about accepting yourself at all. Rather, they're excuses we present as resignation to the prevailing reality. We excuse ourselves by saying things like, "I've always been this way. I'm too old to change. I've tried and failed to change many times. This is my lot in life." These statements are expressions of self-defeat. When we're discussing factors about ourselves that we have control over, our fitness level, our wakefulness, our skill set, our overall wellness, our weight, our thinking processes, and fail to acknowledge our power to change, we are slamming the door on any possibility of change. Loving yourself means knowing when something about you is out of balance. When homeostasis is disturbed by imbalance, it's time to do something about it. That is the root of the practice of self-love toward happiness. Understanding that you have the power to change and knowing that you need to. Nobody is perfect, including you. Change won't make you perfect. The change will improve an aspect of you that's dragging you down. Intentional personal change is never about perfection and always about improvement. Perfection is a dangerous illusion that sometimes keeps us from even trying to change something about ourselves that we don't like. Whether that's being obese or being argumentative, we struggle with the idea of vulnerability to the judgment of others. We don't want to hear that we're less than perfect even if we know we're not. We don't want to acknowledge our weaknesses. Instead, we self-paralyze for fear of negative repercussions. That's how strong the negative bias is in our thinking. We're negative about what might happen before it even has a chance to. But when we release our need to please others, especially when pleasing them is at your own expense, we free ourselves. We accept ourselves so radically when we reject the importance of what others think. We're then able to move forward with a positive change toward the happy life we know we deserve. There is no fear in self-love. This is our better self, propelling us to do what we need to do, regardless of what others think. Dress yourself up in self-love. They say that first impressions are lasting impressions, but what impressions do you have of yourself, purely from a physical standpoint? Do you feel unkempt, like you don't pay enough attention to your public presentation? Again, nobody's perfect, but making an effort to look your best has the immediate effect of lifting the spirits. And when your spirits are high, you move through the world more easily and with a lighter step. You become a beacon of happiness that spreads the feeling abroad. Spend time going through your closet. Get rid of anything that no longer fits or has become worn to the point that it's no longer presentable. Items that haven't been worn for 6 months or longer and which are in presentable condition should be donated. Pro tip: if the item hasn't been worn because it's missing a button, sew the button on. If the item is torn or stained, make rags from it. Never donate items you wouldn't wear yourself. When you have a wardrobe containing only clothes that you wear, you'll be much more likely to feel good about the way you look. Taking the time to think about what you wear and how it makes you feel creates a greater awareness of how your appearance speaks to other people. There is nothing superficial about taking care of your clothing and personal hygiene. It's not only socially considerate to present yourself well, it's an investment in yourself. We may not care to hear it, but yes, first impressions are lasting impressions. But when your impression of yourself is favorable, when you've created a pleasant public presentation, you feel happier about who you are and how people see you. You feel like smiling and interacting. You feel good about yourself. To add to this effect, treat yourself with the respect and the love you deserve. Feed yourself well. Drink adequate water. Quit unhealthy habits like smoking or having a little too much to drink on a night out. Lose a little weight. Exercise. All these habits add up to a positive self-image that increases your self-respect, confidence, and of course, self-love. Present the best version of yourself in every aspect, from your empathic empowerment to your neatly arranged hair. These are all aspects of you. They tell people a story about who you are. That's why attending to your physical appearance can improve your happiness. You will never be perfect, but you'll be presenting yourself mindfully and with pride. Be your beautiful self. Understanding yourself as a holistic human being helps you avoid the modern tendency of simultaneously idealizing and demonizing physical beauty. You can ignore this bizarre binary because you understand that being proud of your physical presentation amounts to being proud of yourself. The physical despite our cultural tendency to present it as either the result of evil self-obsession or an ideal we should all emulate, is removed from the realm of symbol and put back in its place. Nurturing our physical appearance is just one aspect of the care and feeding of a self-loved human being. How you present yourself physically is as much a message to everyone who sees you as it is a message to yourself. When you've taken a moment to consider your appearance in this way, you'll understand that vanity has precious little to do with the matter of physical presentation. What it has to do with is self-love and pride in the human being you are. When you're confident enough to present yourself with pride, the modern mythologies and a self-soothing abdication from the physical don't matter. It's you. Your body is your way of interfacing with the world around you as you, and the way you present yourself is part of your communication strategy. What does your presentation say about you? What would you like it to say? I think most of us would agree that we'd like our public presentation to transmit confidence, comfort, approachability, and pleasantness. For myself, and I'm sure many readers would agree, I would add individuality. Not everyone reading will be ready for that, and many will not agree that looking unique is desirable. Most people are happy to pleasantly and innocuously blend in. But being aware of your presence makes you something of a thought leader. Not a style leader, a thought leader. By being your beautiful self in a public sense, you're leading others to believe in an increased range of the possible. When you do it well, you become a leader in many other surprising ways. If your public presentation is sending a message you'd rather it didn't, then change it. Nobody's stopping you. Cut your hair, wear a wig, shave your head, grow a mustache and wax it within an inch of its life. If it makes you happy, it will transmit the qualities you want it to. I'm not talking about becoming a 24/7 juggaloo. I'm talking about letting what you like guide your presentation. I'm talking about loving yourself enough to present that self-love in a manner that pleases you and incites a positive response in others. As you've read, we could all use a whole lot more positivity in this world and in our lives. Dress yourself up in self-love, understanding that you're worthy. Then let your happiness infect everyone you encounter. That's what happiness does. Happiness grows in concentric circles, bringing light into dark places. Love yourself. Be your beautiful self. Be that light. Becoming whole, holistic health, and your mind. Your mental health impacts your body whether you believe it or not. Conceptualizing yourself as a whole being makes it easier to understand why. The quietly whispering life of the mind, when it gets too insistent, makes itself known through the superhighway of the nervous system, and before you know it, you're not feeling so great. We've talked about exercise and nutrition in the previous chapter as part of a self-help effort for the body. But the mind has its own nutritional needs, over and above what's shared with the rest of the body. As a matter of fact, the brain consumes 20% of our calorie intake. When you think about it, 20% isn't much of a commission when you're the organ that runs the whole shooting match. I'm not saying the organism is the body's most important organ because homeostasis, the balanced human organism, precludes giving it that status. That said, we know it's at the wheel, so there's another reason to eat well. If you want to think well, you need to feel well, and vice versa. Nutritional psychiatry. When you own something of value, like a car or an antique, it's assumed that you spare no effort in maintaining that item at its most impressive. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Your car is kept in excellent running order, and that antique hutch is regularly polished with the finest oils available. If you're not eating nutritionally sound food as part of your regular life, then you're not doing the same for your brain. Just as you spare no effort to keep your external life amenities in order, your brain needs the best you can offer it. Careless eating habits can seriously impact our mental health. If many of us are cavalier about our bodies, we're completely oblivious to the reality that poor nutrition negatively impacts healthy brain function. If anything should get our attention, it's the emerging discipline of nutritional psychiatry. While still in its infancy, and not equal to the more severe forms of mental health disturbances, research is revealing that nutrition should be implicated in the treatment of low-level issues. Please refer to the resources section for links to trials and studies. Among findings derived from ongoing research is that nutritionally high-value foods can improve mood, reduce physical inflammation known to influence the development of depression, and that following the traditional Mediterranean diet was validated by research to be a superior treatment option for low-level or mid-level depressive states. Please note the connection between physical inflammation and depression. This is just one illustration of how integrated and interdependent all the body's systems are. Because of that fact, nutrition's value is holistic, feeding our minds through the organ that thinks and controls the functions of our bodies. The brain's ability to do its crucial work depends on what you eat and drink. When thinking of the body in this way, there is less mystery attached to the brain. Knowing your brain as your body's control center improves your relationship with this sector of your being as a function to be nurtured and curated. Nutrition that feeds the body must also feed the brain. We acknowledge this only in passing by acknowledging that children require food that feeds their brains. But adults need that nutritional support even more. With adulthood comes pressures that we're often surprised and destabilized by. Fortifying your holistic health prepares you for all that might come. Mental strength goes well beyond nutrition, though. Mental strength is, again, not only born in the mind, but in the body. When the entire body is viewed as the grounding of your being, without which you would not exist, your conceptualization shifts to one of stewardship. Instead of the cracker box we're annoyed with half the time, its insistent, sense-it needs forever calling us to the bathroom or the refrigerator, we find in the body the site of all we enjoy in life. It moves us through the world. It creates movement. It is all one thing, and it is us. And without a healthy mind, we are not who we might be. So let's talk now about other types of nourishment for the brain and how we can live unencumbered by some of what can happen in the mind when we neglect its needs. The science of emotional equilibrium. In the 3rd century BCE, Zeno founded the school of Stoicism in the philosophical cauldron of Athens, Greece. Stoicism's edicts are often misinterpreted and have been through time, but there is much in this philosophic school that merits a look. Stoicism's central thesis was emotional equilibrium, presented as the idea of having an individual will that followed the edicts of nature. This temperamental ability is called equanimity. Equanimity is not in step with the frantic, self-obsessed nature of the 21st century. Equanimity is not brashly individualistic. It's not flashy. Equanimity seems a little even-tempered for our florid times. That's why we need it now more than ever. The Stoics were right. Human beings tend to screw up and then blame someone for it. The source of our discontent is ourselves and our discontent. As we've discussed earlier, our distaste for personal accountability, which has reached pandemic scales, is corrosive for ourselves and others. When we fail to hold ourselves accountable, we hurt ourselves most of all. Other people respect us less. We undermine ourselves. But learning to foster equanimity is a life skill that takes much of the pain from our lives. We generate a great deal of pain in our minds. Our anxieties and insecurities lead us astray. Instead of running emotionally wild with a ravening pack, wouldn't it be useful to be a soothing presence that leads the way to emotional equilibrium by example? Rewiring your attitude. Finding your inner stoic may seem like a lot of work, but it's not really. Not in the great scheme of things. There are other, more laborious quests in the world, and some of them involve repairing damaged mental health. Equanimity is the gift of Zeno, the Stoic, to great leaders like the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, probably the most famous Stoic to ever live. Marcus Aurelius lived his Stoicism as Roman Emperor by applying the principles of Stoic philosophy to the daily affairs of the empire. In Book 1 of his Meditations, Marcus transparently warns himself not to become Caesarified, or a dictator. His passion was for a better estate for all of Rome's citizens and equality in a highly stratified society. Find a link to the Meditations in the resources section. By living his Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius was able to lead a prosperous empire. It was only after his death that Rome descended into civil war. Learning the value of equanimity, like anything else worth doing in life, is a process. First, let's wrap our heads around what it is and how it applies to daily life. What the world needs now is equanimity. The state of equanimity is an untroubled mind and a temperament that's able to roll with the punches. The basis of the idea is that you don't allow your emotions to rule your reactions to things that happen in life. Again, the COVID pandemic is a case in point concerning what happens when people's emotions get the better of them. And in an angry, turbulent world increasingly challenged by both natural and man-made disasters, global pandemics, war, and civil unrest, a temperament that can roll with the punches sounds like a survival skill many of us could have benefited from over the past year and a bit. Alas, many people latched onto conspiracy theories with no basis in reality. Bad actors flooded the internet and continue to, with elaborate theories about microchips and deliberate leaks from Wuhan, China. But what's really bothering them? What's really bothering a lot of people is having to absorb unwelcome changes in the rhythm of their lives. Masks are referred to as muzzles, and the vaccine is rumored to make the unvaccinated sick with the virus. Any crazy story will do, just so long as the aggrieved can get back to their fast-paced, exciting, carefree 21st century lives. The pandemic is an imposition, a no in the face of unmet desires, curtailed by quarantines and public amenity closures. A little equanimity may have gone a long way in cooling the ardor of people who have responded to demands for communal response with truculence. Equanimity has the effect of quieting the more childish moments of our egos as they absorb the information they'd rather not be confronted by. Instead of railing against wearing a piece of cloth on our face to avoid infection, we add the protocols for wearing one to our daily lives. We think carefully about the implications of not doing so and realize that we're not only protecting ourselves, but also others. Most of all, we know with the support of cultivated equanimity that we will one day take the mask off. Understand that nothing in this material world exists forever. Your life, the lives of those you love, presidencies, wars, and natural disasters are all temporary occurrences. They are not permanent because nothing is permanent. Everything changes, and as it does, there is always loss and grief. Sometimes the loss and grief are yours, and that's just part of this wondrous journey we call life. Accepting our body as a holistic reality that inevitably passes away is a good place to start. Impermanence is the nature of our lives, coupled with change. Change is not always bad, but change always demands something from us. Regardless of what's demanded, we adjust. We hike up our pants and continue on our way. Why? Because we have no choice in the matter. The situation just is. Returning to the start of our discussion of equanimity and the idea of humans following nature, accepting that it is what it is the beginning of wisdom. Intellectually apprehending that the universe isn't sucker punching you or throwing you a curveball depersonalizes loss and catastrophe in a world far too married to individual agency. The individual agency doesn't move your house out of the path of a tornado or stop you from having cancer. It doesn't prevent the loss of loved ones. It doesn't guarantee wealth or health. Individual agency is much more appropriately applied to learning how to accept the instability and security of existence. The practice of equanimity highlights this aspect of being human. The act of accountability is already the modeling of individual agency. Blaming others is the opposite. By externalizing our shame at having failed, we cease to choose the true failure, the failure to stand up to the full stature of human being. Equanimity demands that we do precisely that. The stable, happy warrior. While there is a strong trend toward recommending mindfulness meditation for everything that ails you, it's important to understand that this practice tends to work best for those who don't face significant boundaries in regulating their emotions. Those who do should more appropriately seek the help of mental health professionals. With that disclaimer out of the way, regulating our emotions in the confrontation of some of the less than happy circumstances of life is how we can face those circumstances. Being aware of and in control of what's going on inside of us emotionally helps us to understand the emotional landscapes of others. In turn, this benefit offers enhanced emotional intelligence, one of the most sought-after leadership skills in modern employment marketplace. In the resources section, you'll find further guidance about training yourself to accept the life that's in front of you while using the ability to regulate your emotions as a life skill. Accepting the vagaries of the world doesn't mean giving up. It means having the will not to allow it to crush you or to disturb your mental health to the point of illness. Equanimity is the freedom to live in a reality that you master emotionally by confronting it as a stable, balanced human being. Acceptance is at the heart of it.